I was just informed that I can broadcast for up to 8 hours. So will I broadcast for 8 hours right now? No, I will not. Oh man, my skin looks pale in here. Guys, I am a white-skinned guy and kind of pale. I mean, I'm not real tan, but just know in real life that I don't look as pale and pasty as I look on camera, okay? If you want to see a good image of me on camera, check out my most recent review video. Oh, that's my iPad playing an ad. Hello, iPad. Thank you for playing that ad so that I can watch myself. Sorry, I monitor my video over here on my iPad so that I can see your comments because I can't see them very well when using Google Hangouts to go live, and that's what I'm using tonight. So as people come on, just want to mention a couple things, couple announcements for you. For one thing, the audio, whenever you get on here, or if you're on here already, let me know how it sounds. So the audio is coming from a fine wireless unit that is actually a lapel mic. Fine. Obviously, I did recently a handheld microphone review of a wireless handheld mic of theirs. And I'm going to be reviewing this as well. Just got it in. It's a wireless lapel mic that has a receiver and a transmitter. And not only do they give you the lavalier, oh wow, that was loud. And not only do they give you the lavalier lapel mic, but they also give you a headset mic as well in the package. And I will show you that right now. So not only do you get the lapel mic, you get the headset mic. So let's say I got tired of this lapel and wanted to put the headset on. All I got to do is plug it into the unit that's in my pocket. Very cool. Then what also comes in the package is an adapter. It's a 1/4 to 8 adapter, which I assume comes in most handy in this situation if maybe you're using it for audio going into a phone or an iPad. So really, it's a great tool for people like me who are going to be doing vlogging, maybe some interviews, things like that. When you're in a situation interviewing somebody, maybe with a portable setup, great tool. And the coolest thing about it to me is that $40 gets you the lapel mic, the transmitter, the receiver, the headset, and the adapter, as well as color picture instructions. So I'll be doing a full review, full audio test on YouTube soon here. But yeah, if you're in need of something like this, I've got a link in the description where you can go get yours right now on Amazon for only $40. I think that's a steal of a deal for wireless technology. As we get started this evening, just want to mention a couple upcoming things. I want to thank Allie at Fender for working with me as I've reviewed at this moment in time, which is May 15th of 2019. I've reviewed two things for Fender, which have been the American Performer Precision Bass. A great review. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll put a link up there. And then I have also reviewed this past week a brand spanking new pedal from Fender that combines tremolo and reverb into one. And it is the tre-verb. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll have a link to that review up here as well. And there will be links in the description of this video where you can get both these products for yourself. But it's really been cool working in association with Fender for a couple reviews. A lot of tonight's broadcast is going to be specifically about Fender products, and being a Fender guy as I am. And so as a diehard, hardcore, true-to-life Fender man, to work with Fender for a couple reviews has been really sweet. So obviously the tre-verb pedal that I just reviewed is actually sitting right here. And the review was really good. Sean at Creative Digital Media helped me out to get you a very high-quality review on that front. But I have this right here because I kind of want to give you a further demonstration of its features during tonight's broadcast. So not only will we be talking about a lot of Fender products tonight, but we will be taking a look. Maybe I'll be demoing this a little bit now. The audio will not be straight in through an interface because I'm currently using my interface for audio. So the audio will be coming through a computer microphone, but it'll at least give you an idea of some of the cool stuff it can do. I am making this broadcast on an iMac right now. iMac. Is that even a word? MacBook Pro. So let me know how the image looks. I do want to get a new camera to use for YouTube live streaming, new production videos, reviews, and everything. The thing is, I just don't have the funds right now. But that does lead me to say this, and I've got a couple links in the description here, but there has never been a better time to join the Rumblin Man Insiders group. And you may say, how do I join the Rumblin Man Insiders group? And be an insider. Well, if you're a Rumblin Man insider, it just means you're going to be part of a group of people who have really been a blessing to the channel. You know, people who have either, you know, contributed services, contributed gear, or even contributed on Patreon. So what I've got set up right now is I have a Patreon account set up, and at this moment in time, I have 2 patrons. But you can bet I thank God for those 2 patrons. I also have a PayPal set up for one-time donations for those who can't afford to donate on a monthly basis. Now, am I asking for your donations? I'm actually not, because I think, you know, if you're in a place where you're, you know, financially blessed and want to donate to a cause, I think you should pray about that and see what the Lord's leading you to do and where you think your money would go. But I'm actually just kind of stating that the option is there to help me. If you believe in this channel, like what we're doing here, and you want to see it get better and better and better, then I would invite you to be a Patreon or a patron on Patreon. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm just going to show you the different tiers that I have set up for patrons before we get to tonight's content. So I'm going to share my screen with you on the application window here. Share. Oh, that's something I'll be talking about in a bit. Teaser. All right, so this is my Patreon page. If you go down, there's a welcome video from me. And essentially what that is, that's a welcome video that I made back in August. I think it was August, September, sometime when the summer was very sadly coming to a close, 2018. Oh man, do I miss the summertime? But you know what? It's almost here. It's almost here. And I've got my shorts on and my t-shirt on right now. You know we need it here in Florida. But anyway, so I will probably be updating the welcome video because I've changed some of the Patreon stuff. Just the other night, I made some changes. So kind of a welcome letter from me. So over here on the right column is the different packages we have for supporting the channel. So this first one right here is Blue Status. You can be a Blue Status supporter by donating $2 or more per month. And for the $2 group, there's not as much that I can do for you as I would like. I do hope to progress with that in the future, but I'm still working with very humble beginnings and non-existent funding right now. But Blue Status, if you can donate $2 a month to helping me out with the channel, helping me make more time to make videos and gear upgrades to get you a better image and just kind of helping keep in business until this thing takes off further. That would be great. You receive a thank you video, and then you also receive a personal letter from me. The next tier up is Gold Status for anyone who is a patron of $10 or more a month. And if you're Gold Status, then you get added to the Secret Insiders group on Facebook, which is an elite group of, well, there's all kinds of different people in there right now. Right now, my guitar tech is in there. Sean, who I work with on videos, is in there. Ed Heisler from Mad Hatter Products is in there. So there's even gear people in there and stuff, but it's a very select group. And if unless you're contributing a service or a product to the channel, this is the way to get in. So would love to have anybody in the Insiders group. And then you also get VIP vlogs from me every month. Then there's like a platinum tier, which is if somebody, obviously is very financially blessed and willing, there's 20 or more a month. And then in that case, I'll get you one of these t-shirts and yeah, and even shout out to you in a live broadcast. So that's just, now keep in mind that those packages are set up just as thank yous. Is it incentive to get people to be patrons? Well, I don't really think of it as incentive. I just think of it as, the very, very least that I could possibly do. If you'd be interested in making a one-time donation to the channel, you can simply go to paypal.me/rumblinman and you can make a donation there. Anyway, I don't want to waste any more of your time talking about supporting the channel. I just wanted to go through that real quick as we wait for some more people to join up and to get on here. I'm thrilled to be on YouTube Live tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of products, a lot of Fender products. In fact, if you're on here tonight, if you're somebody I know and you're watching, go on and comment if you can, just so I can make sure that I didn't accidentally make this thing private. It doesn't look private. It looks very public. No, this is very public, because if I go to the Facebook app, If I go to Facebook, I'm just making sure this is working and that I'm not, yeah. Yeah, okay. So there's 7 people on here. 4 thumbs up. I did give myself a thumbs up, so so 3 thumbs ups because one of them was me. Okay, cool. So it is working. And then I should be able to see comments as they come in. Anyway, so that's how you can support the channel. If you're not in a place where, maybe you'd like to be in support of, the work of Rumblin Man, which is, helping people with music equipment and musical direction. If you'd like to be part of it, but you can't really afford to financially contribute, I get that because that's the kind of place I'm in life. Just pray for me and tell your friends about the channel. Invite them to like my Facebook or whatever. I want to grow this and grow this and grow this. So this channel started out 6 years ago as just a bass guitar channel. And it's grown now where it's about guitars, basses, pedals, and amps. Those are kind of the main things. And then also I have gotten the privilege lately to get to do some microphone reviews, which is cool. Because honestly, before I never sang in a Rumblin' Man video. Like it's not here for me to sing. But I did the other day when I reviewed the Fine handheld microphone. I actually sang a song. So if you're watching on the replay, I'll put a link to that up above. So that was neat. I'm really enjoying getting to do reviews. It's been a pleasure to work with so many people. Big shout out to Jeff, my guitar tech, who works on my guitars. And he's really helped me out on a lot of projects that have become YouTube videos. A big shout out to Sean for producing the tre-verb review the other night. Looked absolutely great. Probably my best looking video to date. Make sure you check it out. Obviously, shout out to Allie at Fender. Shout out to Ed with Mad Hatter Products, Electric Ed Heisler. Just shout outs all around. Shout out to Mark Pacificar, who I did an interview with not long ago. Just a lot of great people out there. Is that a grabber? Ivan says. You know what, Ivan? I like you already because that is a grabber. And that's another upcoming video. So if you search way back in my channel, I mean way back, if you literally scroll 5 years back in my videos, you'll see 1 or 2 vids with that grabber in them. But I haven't made one in a while, and I've been back at doing the channel seriously now for a little over a year. So I started a series of videos called Awesome Artifacts. And the first one was actually a very cool Antigua Burst Fender Standard P bass. That was a rare limited edition. I've got another kind of Ibanez bass that I'll be doing for Awesome Artifacts soon. And then this will be on the Awesome Artifacts. I think I showed this in another broadcast, but yeah, so this is a grabber, Ivan. It's a Gibson grabber. I'm not completely sure about the year because honestly, one time I dated it and I came up with 1973, and then another time Jeff and I kind of dated it and it looked more like 75. I'm not sure. But this is the first bass I ever played. Like my dad had it as his kind of, work tape bass when he was making demos living in Memphis and Nashville. And I learned to play on this. And then as a teenager, I also started playing a Fender MB5 a little bit. But yeah, so this is the first bass I ever touched, that I ever played. And it still sounds great. Jeff, my anonymous guitar tech, Jeff, recently did a setup on it, and he fixed the neck, fixed the electronics. Everything on the bass is stock, actually. So it's pretty valuable, I would think. And I love to play it. So it's always had rounds on it, except for a brief stint with, well, not a very brief stint, but a stint with GHS Bright Flats on it. But these are Diodario. No, they are not. These are DR Strings Legend flat wounds. In fact, I'll put a link to, after the broadcast here within a couple hours for the replay, I'll put a link in the description to my review of these strings because they're really cool. And I actually did review these strings on another bass. But yeah, they're really cool flats. These came standard with the floating pickup, so it's in the neck or the bridge or between, and then just single volume and tone master. So yeah, very, very cool artifact that I've got hanging on the wall here. I've thought about kind of rotating which guitars and basses of mine hang on the wall, but the problem is like these are the 2 ultimate artifacts, of the house. Like there's also the 91 Takamine EF 341 SC that my dad got in 91, and he played it for years. And then when he moved on, it became my guitar and all this stuff. So those are kind of my main 2 artifacts in the house, and they kind of chill on the wall. So, but yeah, that's a grabber. I love basses. I love bass guitar. In fact, tonight, one of the things we will be talking about is my favorite bass strings that I want to go into a little bit. Maybe tell you some products you can check out that might be friendly to any budget. The bummer for bass strings is this: bass players don't have it easy as electric guitar players, because electric guitar players can grab a pack of strings for cheap. Now, if you're an acoustic player, you want to get nice strings, right? But for electric, I mean, if you're an acoustic player, make sure you spend at least 15 bucks on your strings, okay? But if you're an electric player, I mean, these are the Diodario nickel wound jazz lights that I'm going to be putting on probably this SX over here that has never been seen before until you're going to see it tonight. All right, this is a cool broadcast. I'm showing you a lot of stuff tonight, all right? But yeah, so, you know, these are what, $8? The thing is, as a bass player, if you spend $8, then what can you get for that price range? Some Ernie Ball slinkies that don't sound great. Somebody's going to bust me for that, but I'm just saying. So bass players have it hard. And as a bass player, like if you want to get a great set of strings, man, there are times when that's going to be a couple $20 bills. There's going to be times when that's in the $40 range. I recently did that here. I'll be showing you. But also, honestly, I've always been a fan, and won't talk about them so much tonight because they're not my faves right now. But I've always been a fan of Elixir, their round wound bass strings. But the thing is, I think what is it, $50 or $60 for a set? I don't really know. I remember when I was in Seattle and I was flat broke and I needed a set of bass strings. And I remember having two different friends get bass strings for me. I remember Mario, who may join tonight, who may be watching. Mario got me a set of flats, and Maggie from Arizona got me some rounds. So, you know, God brings people in your life, you know, good friends that are there to be your friend and to help you in your time of need. No matter what type of need you have, there's always good people around. And if there's not, you can find them. Just head to your local gospel-centered church and you'll find somebody who'll be nice to you. And if they're not nice to you, then go to another church, because church is all about being nice to people. I think we're supposed to be nice to people in church. And you know what? I'm right. All right. So cheers, guys. I'm drinking some water this evening. Florida tap water, not as tasty as Tennessee tap water, but still better than Texas tap water. Okay. Excuse me. So speaking of Fender, speaking of basses, I want to take a look tonight and go in depth a little bit about my views on the Fender Player Series. And the link to this is already in the description, but I reviewed 6 products from the Fender Player Series last summer. I didn't get to review all 9. I think the models that I didn't review were, I didn't review the Jaguar guitar, didn't care to, honestly. And that's nothing against Fender or the series, but I say that because I'm just not a Jaguar guitar guy. I like other body styles. I don't really, and I like the Jazz Master, but I'm just not a Jag guy. I didn't get to review the Jazz Master, though. I would have loved to review the Jazz Master. Excuse me. And I would have loved to have reviewed the Player Series 5-string jazz bass, but I only got to do the 4-string. So I did these videos in association with a local music store to my area, and it was called Seminole Music and Sound. And Seminole Music and Sound is now closed. So you'll notice in the descriptions of those videos on YouTube that you can see another retailer where you can get those online. But so I did the Precision bass, I did the Jazz bass, I did the Jaguar bass, I did the Telecaster, I did the Telecaster HH, which was very, very cool, and I did the Strat. So tonight I want to just talk a little bit about each one of these products, because I really think the Fender Player Series has it where it counts. If you're watching tonight and you honestly can't say that you've owned a Mexican-made Fender guitar or bass at some point, I'm just going to tell you that kind of astounds me a little bit, because quite frankly, I think we've all owned a made-in-Mexico Fender or Squier at some point. Now, what do you label a beginner instrument? I don't really know, because honestly, it's really not that often that I come across a guitar that I want to label as a beginner guitar. For instance, Squier, in their upper series, they have instruments that I wouldn't consider beginner instruments. Now, I would consider like a Squire Affinity Strat or a Squire Standard Strat. Some will disagree, but I would consider those beginner strats. But if you get up into the Vintage Modified series, which soon I'm supposed to be reviewing a Vintage Modified Strat, and then up into the Classic Vibe series, I dare say the Classic Vibe Fender guitars and basses are pro. They're pro, and I'll tell you, and you can knock me for that all you want, but I'm just telling you, I had a Classic Vibe Squire 60s P bass that I played on sessions with and shows, and I was paid, so it was used in a pro setting. All right. So here's the thing: I don't consider something to be beginner because it's friendly to the common working American's budget. If you really look at the demographics of the world, it's like Americans who live in a house and have a car to drive. We're in like the top, what, 1-2% of wealth in the world. And then if you look at the percentage of Americans who are wealthy people, it's not most of us. I mean, there's a big majority of middle class, lower middle class, and even poor, impoverished people, right here in America. So honestly, what about the average working musician? Because as a working musician, you want to have a pro appearance. You want to play a guitar or a bass that says, "Hey, I mean business with what I'm playing. I'm serious. I'm a pro." But what if you're a pro who lives paycheck to paycheck, and that money on that next paycheck from that gig is just going to go to keep the lights on, and then you got to save up the next 2 paychecks after that to pay the mortgage? That guy can't go out and buy the nicest thing. He can't go out and buy, an American Professional Strat or Tele or P bass. So what does he do? Well, the thing is, I think the Fender Player Series gives you a pretty good option, because after having these instruments in my hands, which you can watch the reviews, I do think that there are a number of significant level upgrades from their predecessors, which was the Standard Series. And that's not to knock the Standard Series. I have a Standard Strat in here that's got upgrades on it, and I love it. I love the Standard Strats and Teles, P basses and jazz basses. I've owned them. I've played them. They're great. But, the Player Series with these Alnico pickups, I mean, some people do like ceramic, but with these Alnico pickups and some of the new appointments, they really give you some good solutions. And so I just because they're friendlier to the common taxpayer budget, I wouldn't refer to them as lesser in any way, or beginner instruments. They're absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to show you, and I'm going to be pretty brief here, but I'm going to show you some of the ones that I reviewed, and just kind of speak about them a little bit so that you'll have a good lowdown on these products. Now, a lot of you guys who follow my channel, you probably have already done your research. I mean, you're probably a gearhead, which is why you're watching me right now. But for those who might not know, and even for those who do know, so I would grab this right now if I were any of you guys, okay? Any of you men out there. Let me make sure I'm screen sharing. Am I screen sharing? I don't seem to be screen sharing. Screen share. Share screen. Okay, sorry. For any of you men out there, and why do I say men? Hey, that's discriminatory, Rumblin Man. You being a misogynist, bro? And the answer is no, I am not. I'm not a misogynist. I say men because I've always thought of the neck of a precision bass as, like a manly thing to play, because it's got that thicker, not necessarily thicker, but vertically wider neck to it. It's not as easy to play as a jazz bass, a Jaguar bass, a Mustang bass. It's the strings are a little further apart. In fact, I remember when I first got an American Fender P bass, which was the first P bass I owned, I actually traded it for a jazz because I was having a hard time getting around on the neck. Now, as I became a man, I put away that childish thing, and my hands are now friendly to pretty much any bass I pick up. I did pick up a 6-string the other day and feel a little lost, though I understand how it works. But I would pick this up right now. Here's why. If you're a bass player looking for a bass, or if you are a guitar player and you're looking for a bass to use on some recordings or something, etc., 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 you want to get a good bass. Now, you can get a good bass made by Fender for less than this. That is a $700 price tag. You can get a Squire Classic Vibe or something, which are great. But here's the thing, though. It's like what I said a minute ago. You can play Squire, and you can even play Squire in a pro arena, and it do a great job for you. However, what about your appearance? Because I'm always talking to people, even people in the praise and worship, sector who might be volunteer musicians, about a pro appearance. And if somebody sees you showing up with a Fender in your hands, they can't diss you for that. You're playing a Fender, guitar or bass. And so $700 for an excellent P bass, I think this is worthwhile. Here's the thing. Of the Player Series instruments I reviewed, the P bass impressed me the most. I don't know why. Of the basses, the shop had 2 of them set up pretty poorly. They weren't taking good enough care of their guitars in there. And the Jazz and Jaguar bass both were poorly set up, warped action, and I had to play it that way in the video. But the P bass had a beautiful setup, and when I had it in my office, I took it back to my office for review. I was really impressed with the quality, and I was really impressed with the sound. I felt like that particular, the pickups, I mean, they developed new pickups for this series. They're Alnico, and they are the Fender Player Series pickups. And the thing about them is, I just found that the precision style pickup had a very nice tonal range to it. I felt like it had a wide tonal range, that it would be good for slap stuff, great for rock, for pick playing, that it would cut through a mix really nicely. There was this nice upper middle range to it. This right here, I will have a link in the description later. But this right here is a limited edition Fender Player Series precision bass. It's got a maple fretboard, which so did the one that I demoed, which I really liked. I liked it a little better than the Peo Ferro. And this is in limited edition turquoise. And as a guy who really digs tropical colored guitars, I think this thing is so sweet. And I think if you're out there looking for a bass, you need to snatch this up right now, because I'll tell you what, it may not be made in the USA. It may be under $1,000, but that's a pro instrument. I was telling somebody that on YouTube today. It's a pro instrument. We can't judge something based on where it's made. Honestly, that's like American arrogance or something. So if you take a look here, you can get a Player P bass for less than that. Obviously, we see some used ones here in the $600 range, but brand new buttercream one in $674 range. Peo Ferro Sunburst, $674 range on Sweetwater. I'm going to have an Amazon link in the description where you can pick one up for yourself. But that is an excellent bass. Don't shy away from the precision. But here's the thing. I counsel people on a regular basis, and I sure hope they have my video in the listed videos. Come on, come on. There I am. Woohoo. Fame and fortune. Maybe one day I'll be in the first 3. Who knows? Excuse me, guys. I've been struggling with some kind of light cold or something. So the Jaguar, here's the thing. I often consult people to go with the Jaguar. Here's why. And I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about this again sometime. But I'm a PJ guy primarily because I think that it gives you the precision sound that cannot be emulated by another style of pickup, and gives you, the Jocko-friendly, jazz bass bridge pickup. So PJ is great. And quite honestly, I really love the Jaguar bass that I demoed, even though it had a bad setup on it. I thought the Peo Ferro fretboard was actually pretty cool, even though I would probably prefer maple. So check this out. And I thought it sounded great. I just thought it had a sound that was really friendly to a lot of stuff. Like, honestly, if I'm going to play a gig out in the hot sun, am I going to take, like a boutique bass with me? No, I'm going to take a workhorse. And that's the thing that I personally think about the Player Series guitars and basses. I think they're workhorses. And this Tide Pool color with this maple, whew, man, I want that even more than I want the P bass. Look at that thing. I want that. What kind of strings would I put on that, you say? Probably DR neon whites or neon blue. I don't know. You tell me. But look, let's just take a look at some of the features. Modern C-shaped maple neck. Obviously, that's great. It's got a satin finish, which a lot of the satin finish on the neck, satin urethane, which a lot of the American basses these days are satin urethane. We're looking at passive Alnico pickups, Alnico 5 pickups. All right, that's cream of the crop in my opinion. It's Fender. I mean, if you just go down the list here, you know, you see quality after quality after quality. You got a gloss, you know, polyurethane body made of alder. I personally am a big fan of alder. I don't know. I just my personal feeling here is that these are great instruments based on my reviews. Now, I've often struggled with I don't know, kind of the mentality that basses maintain their setup a little better than guitars. So if you're going to get a Player Series bass, be prepared to maybe adjust the neck, but that's all you'll have to do. Good evening, Constantine. Oh, TJ says, Constantine is on here. Constantine, big fan of your channel, brother. In fact, maybe I did a broadcast recently with Alan Brown, aka Bully the Kid. Maybe you and I could do one sometime. But the thing is, I just you got to be prepared because basses, you know, having the bigger hardware, not as many frills, basses are easier to maintain the setup on than guitars. So if you're going to get a Player Series bass, I say, you know what, be prepared to not have to do a whole lot. You may have to adjust the neck. You may have to adjust the saddles. Anybody can do it. Get an Allen wrench, okay? Now, with their guitars, with the Player guitars, you may need to be prepared to do a little more than that. Now, one that I want to show you tonight is this. The Fender Player Series Telecaster. Whoa, look at that one. Humbucker. Now, I reviewed one of these. The link is in the description. Also, the link to pick one up is in the description. Now, I reviewed the Tide Pool with Maple. Whew, look at that, dude. Look at that. Guitar Center wants my location. No, I don't want them to stalk me. So, look at that. Let's all just look at this. Let's all just behold it. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, Constantine is a fan of my reviews. Hey, Constantine, well, the feeling is mutual, brother. I've loved a lot of your videos, man. So very, very cool. Great to have you on here. Spencer is on here. Spencer and I kind of grew up together, didn't we? Brother Spencer, you American, you. We're all Americans. Maybe some of us are Canadians and Puerto Ricans. Who knows? But anyway, guys, of the guitars that I played, now the ones that I reviewed were the straight up Tele, the Strat, and the HH Tele. This one impressed me. I remember thinking, man, I wish I had the cash on hand to take this thing home. You can check out my review, but the thing is, when you split the humbuckers, don't be expecting the usual Tele sound, because really only a Tele style, you know, single coil bridge pickup, you know, wound the way those are wound is going to sound like what it is. But I mean, if you're playing a style of music, in fact, Chardons, I don't know if you're on here, man, but I would recommend this for what you and I were talking about in comments the other day. Aha, he is here. Chardons is here. He commented like right as I said something. But see, this is awesome. The neck humbucker, I mean, you can do, you got jazz, you got blues, you know, coil tap it for blues. Nobody know the difference. You know, for rock, you got that bridge humbucker. Man, I loved this guitar. And the one I played seemed to hold tune just fine. I did have to tune it a number of times during the review, but honestly, you know, there's a million ways to take that. Some Big Ben's nut sauce, which I'll put a link to in the description. Tighten the tuning machines. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you're a guitar player or a bass player wanting a guitar, this is a really sweet axe. In fact, of the Player Series, probably the P bass is my fave, and this is going to come in number 2. Very, very cool stuff. So don't shy away from the Fender Player Series, you know, just because it's made in a different country than the more expensive guitars and basses. Not everybody can afford $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. Honestly, not everybody can afford $674, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot more attainable, you know, for the average tax-paying American citizen than some of the higher-end stuff. And if you're a pro and you want to have a pro appearance, man, ain't nobody going to diss you for playing a Fender. And if they do, then they are really, really, really confused, okay? They're super confused. All right, bro? So those are just 3 highlights from the Player Series just to be looking at. And if you haven't tried one, and you know, obviously it is good to try something before you buy it. If you head to your local Sam Ash or your local Guitar Center, they should have them in stock. Or if there's another local music shop that you support. So very cool. I'm going to stop the screen share. We're going to come back over to the Rumblin broadcast here. In case nobody heard it earlier, I'm using a fine wireless lapel mic that I'll be reviewing soon. So let me know what you think of the audio, if it sounds like crap or if it sounds good. I'm really glad to have this. I've wanted a lapel mic for a while, but just couldn't really get one. So Chardons. Yeah, Chardons. I noticed that as well right now when I was looking at the picture. Really nice belly cut on that thing. That's cool that you're thinking the same. Now, I want to address a comment from earlier. Oh, it was Chardons. Hey, Rumblin Man, I got a Squier Contemporary. Nice guitar. The pickups being ceramic are okay, but I'm a fledgling electric player. So I would say this. I have not tried out the Squier Contemporary series, so I can't even comment on because I've never had one in my hands. I saw one at a distance, and it was a jazz bass, and I thought, that's really cool. But I've never even picked one up, so I can't weigh in on those. I'll say this: they sure look cool with the matching headstocks and the the more modern pickup configurations. And honestly, I think those guitars are going to be really friendly to someone who's starting out but wants a great guitar to start on, and especially somebody playing rock music. So also TJ Me-chan, kind of off topic, but what is it you don't like about Warwick? Oh, TJ, you and I were talking the other day. Good to see you, bro. Honestly, man, it's just a personal preference. I just personally don't like Warwick basses. And honestly, I'm sure maybe Warwick makes a bass that I would pick up and be like, hey, this is really cool. But every time I've picked one up, I really didn't like it. Like I was in this studio in Seattle, and I had taken with me my Fender jazz bass and my Squier Classic Vibe P bass, and it was a rock session, and they had a Studio Warwick, and I picked it up, and to me the neck on that particular model, I mean, it just felt kind of like a tree trunk to me. Obviously that's not going to be every model. There's different neck profiles and finishes and stuff and wood types, but yeah, I just never really got into them. That style of bass, which you find with Warwicks and with Ibanez and with Spectre even, and even Schecter, honestly, somewhat. They're cool, and a lot of people like them. It's just not my personal thing, man. I really like the Fender style models. I really like Rickenbackers and Lakelands and stuff. But to me, that's just never the kind of bass that I've gravitated toward. That doesn't mean that Warwicks suck or anything. Obviously a lot of people really like them. Obviously they're very well-made basses. They're just not what I've ever really been into. I would probably, if I was going for that style, I'd probably go with Spectre. So I don't know, man. It's nothing personal against Warwick. They're just not my particular style. So the price. Yes, the price is paid. Thank God. Amen. So while we're on the note of Fender, I kind of want to give you a look at a product here before I start my little rant on bass strings, and even show you some bass strings that I've gotten here with me. I want to show you this product. I'm going to drink some more water. Excuse me, I'm like dehydrated or something. Excuse me. So sitting right here is the Fender tre-verb. After you watch the broadcast, go on and check out my review. There's a link in the description. So Fender sent me this pedal to review, and I'm showing it to you tonight because I'm probably looking at shipping it back to Fender tomorrow morning. So this will be my last encounter with this thing. Really cool pedal. So if you think about Fender, what Fender products speak to you, what you've used by Fender over the years, what comes to mind for you? The first thing I picture is a P bass and a Stratocaster. That's what I think of with Fender. And you think of amps, you think of all these things, and lo and behold, Fender also makes strings, and we don't hear enough about their strings. And Fender makes pedals, we don't hear enough about their pedals. But new for 2019, they've come out with a beautiful series of pedals. Now, I will say that this one right here, though I really do like it, I love it. It's the one that I wanted to review because it was so new and worth checking out, and I thought I would get views. My favorite they've come out with is the Marine Layer Reverb. which I'll show you on a screen share a little closer in just a little bit here. But I saw these pedals at NAMM, and I saw them on the internet, and I thought, you know, those look really cool. I can't hold this up close because it's plugged in here, but the you can see a really good view in it of my review from the other night. But they're encased in this anodized aluminum. So if you think back on the you know, the gold anodized aluminum on old P basses and reissue P basses, it's going to be that same material. And each one of the pedals is like a different color. Like they're beautiful, like breathtaking pedals. And honestly, when I first, sitting right here one night when it first arrived in the mail, when I plugged this thing in and I saw the LED lights come on, like I was like, wow, I'm really impressed. I mean, who wouldn't want that on their pedal board, right? This is a cool pedal. I went into a fairly good amount of depth in the review. I will say this. I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say in the review. I wanted to say more. I didn't do all the editing myself. I did a little bit of post-editing, but there was more that I did want to mention in the review about this pedal. But I did kind of cover the history and the basics and give you a demo. But I'm gonna go into it a little further right now. So I'm not going to mention the things that I really mentioned in the review, but I just want to mention sound-wise. So this particular pedal is a history lesson in addition to being a great coupling of effects. Squid Farm hates Fender strings. You know, man, I actually haven't had much experience with Fender strings. I did order some of their flat wound bass strings recently, and I'll be trying them out this week, and I'll let you know what I think. Maybe I'll review them. Might as well, right? So this particular pedal is not only two great classic effects into one unit and done extremely well, extremely beautifully, extremely professionally here. I mean, this is great stuff. But it's kind of a history lesson in itself because the three styles of tremolo, they're very close simulations to early Fender amps, from blackface to brownface to Blonde Pro, or no, Tremulux. And then on the reverb side of the pedal, they're also emulations or simulations of earlier Fender amp reverbs, from blackface to brownface to Blonde Pro. There's going to be three types of tremolo. There's opto, bias, harmonic vibrato, and three types of reverb as well. And there's a 63 plate, or I'm sorry, a 63 spring, a 65 spring, and then a plate. And I like the plate best because I'm actually, I like spring reverb. And I think it, you know, really, if you're playing rock and roll music or any kind of cover music on electric guitar, spring reverb is a sound that you probably need to have in your arsenal. In fact, that you definitely do, and you should get one of these. Honestly, if I was like a rock and roll guitar player, or if I was in a cover band or something, this would be like on my list. But the thing is, spring reverb is not my favorite because I'm really into like big splashy reverbs, which is why I want the marine layer Fender reverb so much. But and like a Big Sky, those are the kind of reverbs that I experiment the most with these days. But spring reverb has its place, and it is very useful. Obviously, the style of music that I mainly play electric on is worship music, you know, in church as a worship leader. And so I play electric, and so I use a lot of bigger reverbs and delays, kind of more ambient sounds. So I don't use a whole lot of spring reverbs, but if I was going to, this is great because, I mean, they in your ear, they get so close to how the old amps sounded with those reverbs on them, and it's very cool. And so each has the three modes. So you got tremolo over here on this side, reverb on this side, and then each has three modes. Each has three modifications. So tremolo, you're going to have level, rate, and depth. And then reverb, you're going to have blend, tone, and dwell. And I went a little further into that in the video. And then you can use them together. You can use them separately. So, and that's really helpful, you know, wrapped up into this one unit. If you only want to use a couple different types of tremolo, or a few different types of tremolo, and a few different types of reverb, well, instead of spending the extra money and the extra, you know, board space and energy on getting for yourself, you know, a couple different pedals, you can kill the two birds with one stone and do it extremely well with this pedal. You can also tap your tempo. There's an LED light that blinks to show you the rate of the tremolo. Let's see if I can angle this up a little bit to kind of show you. So if I turn the rate of the tremolo down, you're going to see that light blink slowly. And if I turn it up, you're going to see it blink faster and faster and faster. Really cool. And you can also tap tempo your rate just by holding this down. That comes on. And you just tap your tempo. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's your tap tempo. I think that's neat. I think it's very neat. And for me personally, to have those lights to look at would be a really good indicator of, you know, whether I was in the right space or needed to adjust it. It also has a channeling switch on it to where you can put the reverb in front of the tremolo, or vice versa. You can put the tremolo in front of the reverb. So some different guys are going to have different things. Personally, I would probably put the tremolo in front of the reverb. So really versatile pedal. It's also in true stereo. So, I mean, you can integrate this into anything, whether like if you play like a Helix or, you know, a high-end amp modeler, you want to integrate it into your, you know, effects loop, or, you know, if you're running a stereo pedal board, whatever you want to do, it's got true stereo in and out, just a sweet pedal. I love how they did the battery compartments. I haven't even opened it yet, so I can't tell you how to open it. I thought it was well, they're magnetic. Okay, I can't look at the instructions and see how to put my fingers on it right now. TJ says Dunlop Super Brights are my go-to string for bass. I think they sound amazing for most playing styles, slapping especially. You're probably right about that, bro. And honestly, my friend, I've got a friend who is a Dunlop artist, Mark Pacificar. I wish he would come on a broadcast. He's not a broadcast kind of guy. But I did a really cool interview with him that you can see on my Facebook page. He's a Dunlop artist. He loves the Dunlop strings. I've actually never tried Dunlop strings. There's a lot of Dunlop products that I use. I use their capos. I love the Jim Dunlop style capos, and I use their picks from time to time. Yeah. So the thing is, my pick of choice is always going to be these green, you know, 0.88 millimeter picks. I started with the Dunlops, but then I found that the Fender ones actually keep their texture longer. And then I found my buddy Ed, Electric Ed of Mad Hatter Products. I found his on his website, and his are like this, but they are a jumbo jazz shape with a really cool fast rock tip on them. And those are my favorite picks now. And my idea is he told me who his supplier is, so I'm thinking about making Rumblin Man guitar picks. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Also thinking about making t-shirts available. Let me know if you would buy one. I don't want it to be up there for sale and nobody would buy it. You know what I mean? That would suck. So what I want to do is I just kind of want to walk through this with you and just let you hear some of the sounds. Now, the audio is not going to be amazing, okay, because I'm actually going to use a laptop mic for this. So I need to go into my settings real quick and change my input device. Okay, it should be changed now. Save. Now here's the ultimate test. Okay. If for some reason you guys can't hear me, let me know, but it looks like it's working. And I'll turn this transmitter off for the moment. So now you're listening through the webcam mic on the laptop here. But I just kind of want to go through it a little bit with you here. For the guitar that I'll be using to play with it tonight, this is a new acquisition of mine. You've seen a lot of my SX reviews. In fact, I'll put a link in the description to a playlist of different SX products I've reviewed. But this is a Rondo Music SX Strat. I've always wondered about the Hawk with the P90s in it. So bought it from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. God bless you, brother. And this is a sweet, sweet, sweet guitar. Really love it. I'll be reviewing it soon because, you know, I review a lot of really nice instruments, but I also want to review budget-friendly instruments. Let me check my tuning here. I'm actually going to put these Jazz Light strings on this thing. These are the factory strings. One downside to SX is that the strings that come with them are not that great. So I'd say, you know, if you're going to get an SX guitar bass, make sure you also get yourself some strings. Yep, that's flat. Sorry, dudes, I suck at tuning. Wait, don't I have a tuner in here? I did have a tuner in here, a little little Planet Waves tuner, but only the Lord knows where it is right now. Oh, well, so much for that idea. This is embarrassing. Not perfect, but good enough. So I'm gonna go to the bridge P90 here. So what you're hearing right now, and let me know if you have any trouble with the audio, guys. So what you're gonna hear right now is gonna be the guitar, and I'm going straight into the amp, and the only thing I'm running it into right now, using a couple cables, is the pedal, okay? So this is with none of the effects turned on. See, I love P90s with a tremolo, man. If you play worship music, this is a great setup to have P90s and a tremolo, something like a Jazz Master or a Strat that accomplishes the purpose. It's really cool. All right, I can't stand playing without reverb, so let's turn on the reverb. And I'm going to go to the 63 spring. And just to show you how I personally would use a spring reverb, I'm going to keep the blend and dwell nice and low, keep the tone fairly high. Excuse me. And even with lower settings, that's a pretty splashy spring reverb there, so I'm going to turn it way down. Maybe a little more. Nope. I was looking for dwell, not blend. If you're in like just a straight up cover band where you play maybe country or rock or southern rock or even like Motown stuff, man, a good spring reverb setting like that is really good. And like the level with just 3 knobs, the level to which you can customize each of the 3 modes is just cool. Like if I take the blend way up, that's a ton of spring reverb. If I take the dwell way up, I don't even want to. There's tone. I mean, it's just, you know, this pedal, what they did with this pedal is really neat. So, you know, we go to the 65 setting. I'm going to go to both pickups here. All right, so the high end is bugging me a little bit, so I'm going to take the tone knob down. Let's take it to the limit a little more here. Ah, cool, man. I actually really, even though I'm not usually into spring reverbs as much, I really love that 65 spring reverb setting. I think I mentioned in the video that was more of a blackface, and it does have a more blackface sound to it. Sounds more like a hall reverb to me. I don't know. So I had filmed for the review. I had filmed a demo of the plate setting, but the plate setting part I did for whatever reason didn't actually make it into the review. So here's the plate. It's my favorite reverb setting on here, so you will hear it here on the Rumblin Man channel via live broadcast. So I'm going to take the blend up to noon. I'm going to take the dwell up to noon, and then I'm going to take the tone down a bit just because when it comes to bigger, splashier reverbs, I'm always kind of trying to dial out some of the high-end frequency. Man, see, I like that plate reverb setting. All right, so let's do this. Let's take the dwell up a bit. All right, it's not getting, the guitar signal is not getting as choked out and reverb as I'd like, so take the blend up a bit. And that's really nice. You probably can't, well, of course, I'm sitting by the amp and you can't hear it as well as I can, but even if I take the tone up and just kind of, you know, take the other two knobs to nearly maxed out. All right, too much blend there. Plenty of dwell, but too much blend. Man, I really like that. Hey, for an SX, this guitar is doing pretty good here. I'm really glad to have this. So honestly, me personally, if I were in the market for a reverb pedal, I would go with something with way more settings on it. Like I'd go up to Fender's. It's actually more affordable than this. Is their Marine Layer reverb that they recently came out with. It's got all the settings, all the bells and whistles. I would probably go with that. But this really does give you some nice options in a more compact package. All right. So I'm just going to take us down to a 65 reverb setting just for demo's sake here. All right. Let's hear a little bit of tremolo. What style is that? So that's bias tremolo. I don't know what kind of tremolo was on my first amp. So my first amp was actually a Line 6 Spider 112, and I'm talking like the first Spider 112. But it actually had a pretty sweet reverb. No, was it reverb? No, it actually, as harsh as that speaker sounded, man, it actually had a pretty sweet tremolo on it. And this tremolo kind of reminds me of that a little bit. All right, so more rate. That's too much rate for me, personally. I would keep it somewhere down here. Even I would go even lower than that. More depth, you say? Oh. Very cool. So that's and then also you got level. I mean, you can crank the level on the reverb. Tremolo, sorry. And see, if you're needing a tremolo pedal or wanting a tremolo pedal, this is really sweet sounding. And also, like, if you don't really need, any more than 3, reverb settings and 3 reverb knobs, see, this will knock out both those things for you. You don't have to use your amp reverb. Use old Fender amp reverb, man. It's cool. So that's bias. So opto. That kind of reverb. That's got a neat sound to it. I would record with that, even if you make it more subtle. Then the harmonic wave, which is the one that I would probably use the least because it's more of the warbly kind of tremolo. Don't need your help, Gary. Pretty warbly. In fact, let's just warble it out for a sec. You want to warble it out? Nah. Man, that's pretty crazy. But you know, if you want to blend the two together, then you get some cool sounds. So let's say I go to my favorite, you know, reverb mode, and then my favorite tremolo mode, and then have fairly mild settings. I mean, what kind of sounds can you get? Man, that just sounds sweet, and it sounds powerful. Okay, yeah, I am out of tune now because I was using the tremolo a lot. But anyway, I just hope that demonstrates it a little further, and you can check out my review, which I go a little more in depth about the history of each setting and stuff. Really sweet pedal, and thank you, Fender, for just, you know, I really appreciate Fender just being willing to, you know, send it out to me and let me review it. And I'll be sending it back tomorrow, but you guys at least got to take another look at it before I do. And so did I. So who knows, maybe my wife will be awakened in the middle of the night because I'll be out here wanting to play it again. I don't really know. So I'm going to go back to, for audio, I'm going to go back to my lapel mic setting real quick. Turning the fine receiver back on. Very cool receiver. And then turning the transmitter back on, I think. Maybe I need to hold down the button. Yup. Okay, it's connected. So then if I just go in here, then for my microphone setting, if I go to, if I select my interface and save. So we're back to the fine. So let me know what you think of how this thing sounds. I'm going to use it quite a bit. Because for instance, you know, let's say I was going to like stand next to a guy and interview him. Well, I can wear this and give him the handheld and it's all wireless, or just use the handheld. I'll probably do that, you know, next time I do some rig review kind of videos, which hopefully there's more of that coming up. I know a lot of musicians and want to get some rundowns with some guys on stage. So anyway, very cool pedal from Fender. So just kind of a recap of the Fender segment of what I wanted to discuss tonight is this: Fender rocks. And I love Fender not just because of their guitars, not just because of the history, which is a beautiful, beautiful history that I have a book about somewhere in this room. Not just because of their basses. I love Fender for everything they make, for their commitment to quality, for making instruments that, for me, do the job. I don't know. I just really appreciate Fender as a company, and you know, they'll always have a Fender guy here. You know, there's the Gibson side of things, but you know, Gibsons are notorious for not holding tune. You know, Gibsons, it's like if you want to get a really good one, you have to spend a fortune. Whereas with Fender, $1,000 gets you a pretty sweet axe, you know, an American Performer axe. And one of the American Performer guitars that I'm really interested in reviewing is the Jazzmaster, because what they did with this Jazzmaster, I'll show you real quick. You can see a brief clip of it in my NAMM favorites video. But what they did with this Jazzmaster is really, really cool. Wait, that's not where I'm supposed to go. Oh, I was looking at the wrong button. Sorry about that, guys. Got to go back to 2009. Not. All right, so let's take a look at it. Fender American Performer Jazzmaster. This is a guitar I really want to review and own. So check. Oh man, it's so cool that I'm not even sure I can look at it. I'm not even sure I can click on the link. Do I want to see it in Penny or in Lake Placid? Well, I want to see it in Lake Placid because that's my second favorite guitar color. So okay, so oh my gosh, yes. So here you go, bros and sisses. So what do you notice about this Jazzmaster that's different than other Jazzmasters? The tremolo. Does it have a tremolo? Yes. Good. I'm glad. But look, it's not the metally tremolo, not the surfer style tremolo that's mounted with the barrel, saddles, the one that we've all come to know and love, that you see standard on Jazz Masters and Jaguar guitars. You don't see that there, do you? No. Instead, you see a beautiful Lake Placid blue satin finish body. It's got a Strat style tremolo on it. And Fender's not the first to make one like that, I don't think, unless they have at some point in the past and I don't know about it. Because Sir actually has a Jazzmaster copy that accomplishes that effect. But here we have a straight up Jazzmaster. What's the difference? Different style tremolo, Strat style tremolo. And this particular one, I don't think they did this with any of the other finishes, but the Lake Placid blue one is finished in satin. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. Lord, please bring me this guitar. Oh, man, look at the vintage, butterbean style tuners. And yeah, and the thing is, and this is Fender quality at an affordable price. Look at the price tag, $1,079. So that's only $400 more than the Player Series. So it's like, and that's another cool thing about Fender. They make great guitars and basses available at great rates. I mean, if you can get, their Mexican-made product, or, if you have $400 more and you want to go with American-made, which is going to be, some of the appointments will be a step up in quality. So another $400 gets you there. I just think that these are really, really cool, man. That gig bag, I had one but was not blown away. Gave it away to a guy. But honestly, Corona, California, right there. This is just such a sweet guitar. If you don't think this is a sweet guitar, then you're still a cool guy. We just have different tastes. But man, P90s, especially if you're a worship player, if you're a worship guitar player, and you've got $1,000 for a guitar, I would totally go with this. See, the thing is, there's worship players, some of the high-end worship guitar players in some of the bigger churches that have more budget, they get really into boutique guitars, and I get it. Boutique guitars are going to have a very high commitment to quality, but they're also going to be very expensive. They're going to have great appointments on them, but that's going to come at a cost. And quite frankly, most of the boutique companies that are popular, those shapes that they're using, they're inspired by the original. They're still a spinoff. They're not Happy Days, guys. They're Joni Loves Chachi. All right? They're not The Office. They're Parks and Rec. They're not Power Rangers. They're VR Troopers. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, and maybe they're more popular than the Power Rangers now, even though they weren't. That was a very short-lived TV show, VR Troopers. But what I'm saying is this, that they're a chip off the block. The thing is, there's just something about the original. See, I'm going to trust this guitar. Now, I'll get it knowing that it's going to need a setup and knowing that it's going to need good strings, but knowing that it's going to do an absolutely fabulous job for me. So, I don't know. To me, a really cool Fender guitar is more appealing than a boutique Fender wannabe. I mean, they might even use fancier parts and make them, with a higher level of inspection. But at the end of the day, it's still not Fender. So I'm a Fender guy. You can disagree, and I don't care. That's fine. I'm not telling you, God's truth here. I'm just saying this is how I view it. I lean toward Fender. That's just what I'm into, and enough of my favorite musicians are the same way. But anyway, man, that's a sweet guitar right there. I don't care who you are. So yeah, so Fender's got a lot of great stuff. 2019 has been an excellent year for Fender. 2018 was an excellent year for Fender. In fact, you'll remember if you've been following the channel, it was 2018 in which I did those Player Series reviews. Went very, very good. And 2019 has been even better for Fender, coming out with a couple limited additions to the Player Series, coming out with the American Performer Series, coming out with the new pedals. A lot of higher end stuff, a lot of vintage recreations. continuing the strange, meteoras and that stuff. It's a cool time for Fender right now, and it's a really neat, piece of history to be a part of, to get to say that I lived and was working as a musician in this period in Fender's history, and even got to review some things. So hopefully I will get to review more products from Fender after sending this back. Don't know when that'll happen. I have discussed with them doing another bass, a Mustang bass from the American Performer Series. I would really love to do that Jazzmaster. I'd really love to have that Jazzmaster. But yeah, so Fender rocks, guys. Honestly, if you go back through my videos over the years, you'll see products from a lot of different people, but Fender is one that you'll see probably the most of all the brands out there. And it's one that you'll probably continue to see on my channel just because it's a great legacy. And to me, they're just great instruments. I mean, the best Strat that you can buy for $700 or less, some might disagree, but it's going to be the Player Strat. It just is. And quite frankly, if there's a part on it you don't like, if the synthetic bone nut isn't working out for you, you can order a better nut. You can order, upgraded tuners. You can upgrade however you want. So that's another great thing about Fenders and Squiers, is they're easily customizable with other Fender parts. So I don't want to waste your whole night, but I do want to talk about bass strings, okay? And I'm going to talk about my favorite bass strings. I know we got some bass players on here. Someone get that guy a bib and napkin to wipe up the drool. To address this comment, while I was looking at that guitar just now, I did not actually physically drool. In fact, I'm feeling kind of dehydrated, hence the water. But you know what? I might as well have, because I was mentally drooling over that thing. Chardons rather have the Jazzmaster. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ivan says Fender made in Japan basses coming back to the U.S. market. Can you make a review? What? Since when? Okay. Why don't I know about this? Inbox me. I didn't know about that, Ivan, which is weird. I try to stay in tune to things, but that one got past me. But the answer, Ivan, is yeah, if Fender's willing to keep working with me, if Fender's willing to keep letting me review things, then yeah, I would love to do a made in Japan bass, man. That would be very, very cool. So yeah, I'll have to check that out later when I'm just chilling. Do I have one set of bass strings that is my fave bass strings? I don't, actually, and it's kind of eclectic. It was always the Elixir rounds, and at this point, I haven't used Elixir bass strings in a long time. Elixir doesn't even make flats; they just make one straight up set of round wound bass strings. Haven't had them in a long time. I just remember every time that I put them on a bass, like it just felt magical to me. But there are some strings that you just can't stop playing. You know what I mean? When you get a really great set of strings on a bass that really speaks to you and you really like it, they're really cool, then you can't stop playing. And to me, what are the strings that makes me not want to put the bass down? What are the strings to where if I'm playing it, or I keep seeing the bass on the wall or on the stand and keep going to it and playing it more, it's going to be DR strings products. I'm just digging DR strings. And I got to do some reviews of DR products. Some of them were, a couple of them at my own expense, but I did actually work with DR strings, and they did send me some products to review, and I did review them. You can check those out on my channel. But it's like everything that I try from DR strings, I love it. And even if I put something on a guitar or bass from them, and in the long run it doesn't end up working out for me, and it just wasn't the right fit for me, I still really like everything. They're handmade strings, and I think the people who work in DR's plant or their factory, wherever it is, these people are trained for like 6 months before they get released to play, or before they get released to actually start working on making the strings. I mean, a high level of inspection, a high level of quality. DR strings amaze me. Now that's not to say that I've got a bias toward them and no one else. There are other brands of bass strings out there that I really like. D'Addario, I am a big fan of the flat wound chromes. In fact, probably my favorite flats I've ever played on at this point in time have been D'Addario's chromes. In fact, there's a bass in here I had some on it for 4 years. You can actually check out my video. I think it's just called 4-Year-Old Flats, in which I played. And I did end up changing the strings, but the chromes are my favorites. They were the first flat ones I ever tried, and of the packages I've opened and putting flats on basses, I've liked the chromes best so far. That to say, however, there are a couple types of flats I haven't tried yet. I haven't tried Labellas, and I haven't tried Roto Sounds flats, and I haven't tried the Ernie Ball flats, and I probably won't. I don't really know. That to say, if I had to pick a second favorite flat, I don't know if I could, but I will say I really love the DR flats. So these are DR's Legend flat strings. When I first opened them, I wasn't crazy about the texture initially. Initially, I thought, the chromes feel a lot better than these. But as they wore in, like I had them on my jazz bass and then I put them on the grabber. And as they wore in and as they became a couple months old, that's when these strings really set in for me. And so this became a bass that I couldn't put down because for one thing, I love the neck. And then for another thing, the strings, man, I've just been loving thumping on these DR flats. And it's like every bass string that I try by DR strings results in a string that makes me not want to put the bass down, but makes me want to play for hours. And I'll show you another type because DR makes a lot of, really cool eclectic types of strings, but they also make, your straight up round wounds. So these strings right here that I have on this bass, and you can see a full review of these strings. These are going to be on this Yamaha BB, DR's Pure Blues strings, which actually happen to be the preferred strings of Victor Wooten. These are very, very bright strings. They make, for my taste, maybe even too bright, but for slapping and slap style playing, really cool. I mean, these have been on this bass since this summer. They still feel pretty fresh. I don't have a bass amp in here, so I can't plug in and demo anything, but if you haven't tried the Pure Blues, I totally recommend it. They're kind of addictive to play, man. I've heard guys say that they had some action troubles when putting them on, but there's a ton of different stuff that can affect that. I mean, a ton of different things, a ton of different possible reasons for that, changing gauges, etc. So if I remember correctly, when I did the review, the Pure Blues strings are nickel-plated steel. And bass players are always saying that they like the feel of nickel strings, but they like the sound of steel strings. Now, there will obviously be some different opinions out there, but to me, these have a really great, bright sound to them. They have a really great punch to them. Little brighter than I prefer, even though I do prefer bright, which is interesting. But they feel great. Like I don't like regular rounds, but I don't get sore slapping on these. So I'll put a link to where you can pick up a set of these in the description. And these are actually pretty affordable bass strings. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but not expensive, Pure Blues. And I'll put a link to my review of them as well. Really cool strings. So if you haven't checked them out and you're looking for some new rounds and you're looking for something really bright, I would check out DR Pure Blues. I also want to mention DR's Neon White bass strings. I don't have any here because I actually sold the bass that I had them on. And I sold the bass with the strings, but I have the package that came in. Excuse me. I can still talk to you over here because this thing is wireless. So if I'm correct, the DR Neon White bass strings are going to be the same texture as really any of DR's neon strings. Not the Black Beauties. They're kind of a different thing. I think anyway, it's all the same K3 coating technology. But these are just really great. My friend John Howard, who plays bass for the band Six Wire, he told me about these. And I tried out some of his here in Florida when they were doing a show. Really liked it. And I actually do have one neon white string in here. Reason is that John actually gave me the set. He sent this to me. So thank you, John. God bless you, brother. Been a good friend and mentor. John sent me a 5-string set, but I ended up putting them on a 4-string bass. So I didn't get the chance to use the B string. So here's the B string. This is actually the first time I've taken it out of the envelope. But the way these things feel, man, I can't describe it, man. You gotta order a set or try out a friend's set or something to try them. But they just have such a great texture to them, and then the sound is really interesting because they don't sound like flats, and they're not, but they don't entirely sound like rounds either. And they are going to be rounds. They are coated rounds, but it's a different type of coating than you'd find on, say, D'Addario or Elixir or GHS, etc. It's their K3 coating technology, which I believe was patent pending, and I think the patent was approved, but don't quote me on that. They have a different feel and a different sound. The sound, it's hard to describe. Like the neons, they give you a warmer sound, and I want to say that with a lot of DR's neon strings, it's almost like, and I know this is true with the Black Beauties, which I'll show you in a sec, but it's almost like you get more of the treble frequency and more of the bass frequency and less of the middle. So even though they might not have as much bright smack as round wounds do, and even brand new flat wounds, DR's neon strings might have a really cool tone for slap playing. If you're a Motown kind of player, I totally recommend them because they are a little more, mellow than your real lively rounds. But here's the closest view I can give you of these. This is just a laptop webcam here. But yeah, that's not really going to show you the texture very well. But do they stay white? In my experience, yeah. I know they went through several prototypes to develop one that wouldn't lose its color. And I mean, yeah, you might get, some of the color chipped out here and there. I mean, obviously that's life, but depending on, how hard you're playing. But even if you do, it's no biggie. These are really cool strings. So if anybody out there needs if anybody out there needs a DR neon, if anybody out there needs a DR neon white bass string, YouTuber killed via stabbing himself in the eye during live broadcast. Just kidding. In Jesus' name, amen. But if anybody needs a B string, I've got one. Okay. I'm in Florida, by the way. You're gonna have to pay for shipping and pay me, $2 for the string. I might just hang on to it because what if at some point I'm gonna be using I don't know. Haven't decided. Their neon strings are really cool. I want to try the neon blue and neon red and stuff. I dig the neon strings, and honestly, I like them so much that I would be willing to use just neon strings. They feel great. Probably the most addicted I've ever been to a set of bass strings has been the neon whites when I had them on a bass in gear. Because every time I'd walk through the room, that bass would be here with the neon whites, and I would just have to pick it up and play. They feel so great to slap around on and to play. And actually, I just remember this. I didn't do like a full spoken review of the neon whites, but you can see a video, and I'll put links to the description and all this after the fact. But you can see a video of me playing them and comparing them to some older strings right here on YouTube on my channel. Very, very cool bass string. So if you're looking for kind of a neat adventure and a different look to maybe match, your guitar or your bass, check some neon strings out, man. I did get a set of the neon guitar strings as well. So for Christmas, I got DR neon red guitar strings, and I put them on my green Telecaster because I was thinking red and green Christmassy. And I actually really liked the sound. They weren't as bright as, general coated strings or general, round core steel guitar strings, but I kind of liked it. Like they just might round a Tele pickup out. And I actually did some recording with them because I actually did like how they sounded, to my surprise. And then another coated DR guitar string that I have reviewed that you can see on the channel are the Silver Stars. And then initially, I was thinking, okay, the Silver Stars don't work for me initially. But after trying the neon reds, I'd kind of be willing to give the Silver Stars another shot. But just know that if you're going to get any of DR's neon strings, you are going to be getting a different product than what you're used to if you've never tried them before. And that leads me to this. My last broadcast, most recent before this one, I was talking with Alan Brown, Aka, Bully the Kid. I hope he sees this so he can hear me say Aka. And he's a big fan of the DR Black Beauty strings, and so am I. And I put these Black Beauties on this bass yesterday. So this is a 5-string set that I got via Sam Ash website. So I've got them on this 5-string jazz bass, and man, I love them. Kind of like the neon whites and the flats and the pure blues. It's like they're addicting to play, man. Like I could literally just sit here and play, but I'm on YouTube Live, so I won't. Now these, like the other neons, when they're worn in, they kind of do get a more dead-end vibe to them. Actually, at our church, we have a set on a bass there. And you can actually see, I do have a YouTube video of my initial look at those strings, though it wasn't a video that I put anything into, really. So I will do a separate review of DR's Black Beauty strings. But yeah, there's a bass at the church that has a 4-string set that I've been on it about a year. And it's like they've kind of got a cool dead-end feel and sound to them that's still pretty neat. When they're really worn in, I wouldn't recommend them for every single genre, but you never really know it's something until you try. And so for a jazz bass, you know, I had flats on this jazz for a long time, and I just wanted to try something different. And I love the Black Beauty bass strings. I actually have a 4-string set sitting in my office to put on that bass. So I'll probably review this set on YouTube. I've got so much stuff to review right now. And that's a great blessing, because I remember a time in history when I kind of ran out of products to review. Man, I've got so much stuff like in this room right now to review. And I'll get, in just a second before we close, I'll tell you about some of the upcoming things. So like, I mean, you play a 5-string, you know, the B can tend to rattle a little bit. Sometimes that's set up, sometimes it's just the bass. Even though that's buzzing a little right now, that is a setup thing, but it's not rattling. And I haven't plugged this baby up with these on it yet, but the Black Beauties are also really cool. So I really, for any bass player, you know, if you've got more than one bass and want to try something new, you know, that doesn't sound like your average flat or your average round, but is a round and feels a lot different. I mean, the neons and these Black Beauties, they feel different, but they're addicting to play. I dare say you can get kind of a vintage sound with them, but if you want to try something new, I'd say check them out. In fact, if you look in the video description, I do have a link to some Black Beauties that you can order and to some neon whites that you can order. I already put that in there, so you can order them literally right now while you talk to me. But yeah, man, that's a really sweet upgrade to this bass. This is a bass that I have wanted to make upgrades on for a long time, just never really have had the spare money to do so. But honestly, changing strings in itself for bass guitar is an upgrade. If you have a bass, it's a newer bass, or you've had it a while and it's not working for you, you know, you're playing it, but it's not sounding or feeling like you want. Step one, some people are going to differ with this, but step one, first thing you need to try is changing the strings. Change the strings and put some good strings on it. You know, honestly, there were basses for me, and this is what I'm saying by experience, because there were basses for me that I wasn't feeling, I wasn't digging, I wasn't vibing, and I changed the strings, and bam, all the difference was made. And usually those strings were the Elixir bass strings. They usually really brought basses to life for me. But I don't, honestly, right now, I don't really play those because they're expensive, and there's so many great strings out there for less money. I mean, DR makes incredible strings. You know, like if they wanted me to be like a DR artist, I totally would. Like I love the pure blues. They certainly have their application. I love the Black Beauties, the neons, the Legend flats. I want to try more Dion strings. I did send an email, have not yet heard back. I followed up, have not yet heard back. I'm going to follow up again, and we'll see. All right. But if they don't get back to me, then I'll just kind of review DR strings when I happen to get them myself. So let's see. Does the coating rub off? So I will say this, Squid Farm. There's a set of black beauties on that base at the church that I mentioned. And these black beauties have been on this base for 1 year, and they have been played pretty much every Sunday and every Thursday for 1 year. And there are spots on the strings in which some of the black texture has rubbed off, and you see more of kind of a steel looking texture, but that's just the coating kind of getting worn in. So with a lot of wear and tear, I know that the black beauties, yeah, you might lose a little bit of the black at some point, but it's marginal. Like literally, you wouldn't see it if you were standing, 8 feet from the base. You have to get up close and see, where her fingers have been plucking. Then that's where some of the coating came off over time. But it did take time for that to happen. I doubt it would happen immediately or anything, depending on how much you play. When I had the whites, I didn't really notice the texture coming off. I do remember seeing some black spots in it, but I think that's just kind of more the strings themselves. I do know, like I mentioned earlier, that DR really tested the K3 coating technology many times to develop one that wasn't going to rub off. But as far as will they lose their color texture, I can't completely say because I'm not completely sure. I mean, I know the black beauties can, the neon whites. I don't know. I could ask my buddy John if he's had it happen, but I haven't seen it happen on his bases. So I don't know, but I wouldn't let that discourage you though, because I don't think anything that's going to be really upsetting, would happen. TJ, Sire bases. Okay, yeah, we can talk about Sire. Both my bases are currently active, but I'm integrated by the active/passive. Oh, intrigued. Here's what I would say, TJ. Yeah, Squid Farm, totally trying, man. They're sweet. I got links in the description where you can go in and check out the two I mentioned, but there's also other ones too. I've been wanting to get the neon blue. Obviously, I like blue. So TJ, Sire, when this broadcast is over, actually, you can go back to the last broadcast I did with Alan because he's a Sire artist and he loves the Sire basses. He has a P7, the 5-string. He has a V7 vintage 5-string. He has two of the M. Is it M? It's M something, M3 or something. He has like two of them. So he's a Sire artist, and actually check out his channel. Check out Alan Brown, Bully the Kid, BULLYTHAKIDD. And then the kid is one word. But he really loves the Sires, and honestly, he says that he'd put them up against Lakelands and Fenders. To me, that's a big statement because to me, the hardest working basses I've ever played were Fender basses, and then Lakelands are, to me, the top shelf. To me, for my taste. Now, there will be some who disagree, but for my taste, it doesn't get better than Lakeland. And he said he'd put them up against those. So everything that I've heard about the Sires has been very positive. I have heard one or two people diss them and say, I've heard a couple people say that, guys are hopping off that train and, Marcus Miller doesn't play his own Sire basses. And I mean, there is some merit to that because these days when you do see Marcus Miller play, you do see that, he'll probably have one or two with him, but he is mostly playing like his Fenders. But I don't know. I've heard wonderful things. I wouldn't imagine the active electronics having any problems. For crying out loud, you put 2 9-volts in the thing. To me, they're very similar to Fender basses to me in design. The Jazz and P kind of designs. They're one of the only companies that makes an attainable 5-string PJ right now. So I think that Sires are cool. They look cool to me. They seem like great basses. They seem like they sound great. That said, I have actually never played one. You don't really see them these days. Currently, you don't always see them in music stores. I think I heard that that's changing, but I'm not sure. So I've never played one. I've heard them and I hear great things, and I think they're very cool. I'd love to have a Sire or to review one, but I don't really know how to make that happen at this time. So if you're thinking about taking the plunge on a sire, I'd say, hey, you know what? If you can afford it, go for it, because they seem really sweet. But yeah, check out Alan Brown, Bully the Kids YouTube channel. You probably already know who he is, but subscribe to me and Bully. Thank you so much, TJ. I'll have to tell him that I got him a new subscriber tonight. That's cool. Thank you, brother. But yeah, check out some of his videos of the sires. He's got some really good videos of the sire bases. And like I said, he's a sire artist, so he knows really well, and I respect his opinion. He's a knowledgeable guy. Let's see. I had another comment here. Hello, Justin. Oh, Justin Chan. Okay, so Justin Chan is another channel I really like. If I remember correctly, Justin Chan is like a worship guitar player. He's got a great channel. Check. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what stuff I may have said, so I'll say a couple things over again. I guess the fine disconnected or something. I thought maybe the batteries died, but no, it looks like the batteries are still good to go. I don't know what happened there, guys. It's not even connected anymore. So just know that anytime you do get something that is a overseas budget product, you know, there might be compromises here and there. That said, I will figure out, you know, what the inner workings of this thing are for my review, because honestly, what I think of these fine products is it helps you get set up with wireless solutions for not a lot of money. I mean, you can get this set I'm holding right now for $40. Then you can have a wireless lapel mic, and you just saw it work for an hour and a half. You know, I don't know why it disconnected, but thanks for letting me know via comments. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, I thanked TJ for subscribing to me and Bully, and I'll have to tell Bully the Kid about that. Then I commented on sire bases and said they're cool. I hope you heard that. And then I went to I went to Chardon's question about D versus C shaped necks for beginner bass. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I wasn't expecting that to happen. But still, there's a link in the description if you want to take a risk on this. Chardon's, that's going to be personal preference, and there's guys who will have a stronger opinion about that than me. I will say this: if you're into the Fender style models, it's safest to go with the C shape maple neck, just because that's what you'll be playing. You know, I recommend learning to play on and beginning to play on the kind of instrument that you want to play down the line. Obviously, you know, if that's, you know, Fenders, then, you know, like a Squire, you know, I think that C would be the way to go. But there's others who might disagree with that. I don't particularly know. I mean, sometimes, you know, when you're a newer player, sometimes, you know, there will be neck adjustment phases where you got to adjust to something new. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, the P didn't work out for me at first, and I switched to a J until I was ready to play a B. So it's really about how your hands feel. But I think just kind of look at the guitars or basses that you think you're going to play down the line, or whoever you're referring to will be playing down the line with that preferences, and then get something that's kind of the same style as that, so that there won't be any unfortunate surprises for you. Audio cut out. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there. I just happened to turn on the TV and saw that you were live. Is this on TV? It's morning. I'm having breakfast here. Love your channel. Justin, it's morning? Oh, so you're actually like overseas, bro. But Justin, you're in WT Tone, right? That's how I found out about your channel, I think. I love your channel as well, if I've got the right guy here. Definitely some great stuff on there. So, man, it's a blast to chat with all you guys. I appreciate you being on here tonight. Couple people I know in non-digital life. In person, Gary and I play together a bit here in Florida. Spencer and I grew up together, and others. I probably had some friends. So if you are a worship musician, I do have a Facebook group for worship guitar and bass players, and you can search for it in Facebook, or if you can't find it, I can send it to you. But it's just called Rumblin Man's Worship Guitar and Bass Friends. Or if you are a player and you don't play worship music, but you'd kind of like to join the group anyway, you're more than welcome to. It's Rumblin Man's Worship Guitar and Bass Friends. I kind of pull that group a lot. That's right, Justin. Yeah. Wow, you live in Singapore. That's pretty cool. Hello, Singapore. That's cool. Hello, Justin and family in Singapore. Hello from Florida, United States. That's very cool, brother. Yeah, WT Tone is how I found out about your channel, and I subscribed a while back. So, yeah, I'm a fellow YouTuber who happens to be in WT Tone. Only thing I'll say about WT Tone is this. It's a great place, a great community. Worship Tutorials is one of my top 5 favorite YouTube channels. I will say that it's really geared, I feel like WT Tone is really geared toward like high-end gear only, which is why in my group I try to discuss gear, yeah, some high-end stuff, but a lot of budget-friendly stuff as well. Just because I think that a channel that's high-end gear only, helixes and Kempers and boutique guitars, I think it's kind of only friendly to people in a certain income bracket, or people who are on staff at a church of a certain income bracket. I want to be friendly to all income brackets, and quite frankly, maybe the reason is that I'm not in the 1% of Americans. I don't drive a Lamborghini or live in a mansion or have a Sir or an army of Sirs or Kempers. Love to get there someday maybe, but that's not going to be the driving motivation of my life. In fact, I was talking to my wife earlier today, and I came up with a slogan, and that's this. Norm and I, my wife and I, we do have some financial struggles we are facing. Nothing life-threatening. Obviously, we have a roof over our heads and stuff, but I just kind of thought, I want to change our situation, and I want to do it using my gifts to help other people. And so in the facet of, leading worship at church, that's going to mean, using my gifts to help people encounter God in a weekly worship service. In the facet of being in live entertainment and playing the shows I play, that's going to be helping people have great live music for their venue or event. And then with Rumblin Man, it's going to be helping you guys, with gear. Some of you guys don't really need my help and are just here to chat and have fun, but others may need the advice and just provide you with great reviews and guidance. As of today, I am now available for one-on-one consultations. If you have a Kemper profiler and use a bunch of worship presets and boutique guitars and you've already got it figured out, I probably can't help you at all. But for anyone out there who would like a consultation for gear, or worship music or anything along those lines, I can be available to do a 1-hour consultation. That's something I'm going to kind of add under the Rumblin Man umbrella here. And that just so that I can kind of help people and keep growing things. It's interesting because, and I mentioned this in a thank you video to patrons the other day, but this channel started as, hey, I've seen gear reviews and I think I'll put some up. And then it became kind of an obsessive hobby. And then it became, last year, it just kind of became a small side project. And now it's become something more. It's kind of become a dream of mine. There's a lot of guys who just doing YouTube have really, their lives have changed, and so I'm going to keep working at this thing. I don't plan on going anywhere. I need to make some upgrades. I need a better camera. I might need a computer upgrade at some point, equipment, things like that.
But my wife and I kind of cleaned out this room and got it set up to where I can make videos from home, because I was making all my videos in my office up at the church, and that's more time away from home. So if I can make videos here, it has to be daylight because I don't have camera lighting yet. But there's a lamp in front of me. So, but yeah, so I can make videos here at home now. So things are going really good. And you know, if there's people out there who are interested in being, you know, patrons, I do have a Patreon set up, and PayPal, you know, links for that in the description. But I'm not really gonna pressure anybody to support in that realm. It's just as meaningful if you watch the videos and subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and, you know, tell a couple friends about the channel and chat about gear. I think there has to be a way for musicians to be unified in gear. Like, we all have the gear we like and the gear we don't like, right? Like, the gear I don't like is Ibanez, and the gear I like is, you know, Fender or Lakeland. But there'll be another guy who the gear he likes is Ibanez and not Fender and Lakeland. But I think that we can all express what we like and don't like, you know, convince each other of new things, talk about new ideas with gear. And I think we can all do it in a civil and kind and loving manner, supporting one another, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all in a fight together, and that's the fight of musicians. You know, we've all got this gift, you know, that God's given us, that we need to nurture, and we're here to nurture it together. So if there's any way that I can help you along that journey, let me know. My door is open. At the moment, it's so funny. There was a time, a long time ago, where I was getting so many comments on YouTube that I couldn't respond to them all. And that ended for a while, but I'm starting to get more comments. But I'm currently at a point where I can still respond. Chardon's Rucklin brother. Yeah, but Justin Chan, that's very cool. Big fan of your channel. You've got some really cool guitar tones coming. Guy, there's a guy, Lucky Reviews. Thank you. Oh, been watching for a while. Thank you very much, Guy. I appreciate that. TJ, we need RM shirts. Volume Shannon. Oh, I will address that in just a second. Whoa, Shannon. You got to join my Facebook group, Shannon. That's pretty cool that you're down here. TJ, the RM shirts. So this is currently, as of May 15, 2019, this is the only one in existence. So basically right now, I do have a tier on Patreon. Like, if somebody is a certain donor, then I'll just order them one. I've had thoughts of making t-shirts available, because I've had people say to me here and there, you know, man, I'd like to have one of those. I think before I take that step and like get a Teespring account or something, like, I just need to hear from, you know, 2 or 3 different people who would actually, you know, buy one. Because I don't want to do something and then, you know, and then nobody gets it, and I just twiddle my thumbs and, you know, put in all that work for no reason. But yeah, dude, TJ, at some point, I have every intention of making these available. It might not be immediately, but at some point. So right now, to order one costs me $25 or something, just for one. This one was a demo, so I wore this to NAMM, but it's already got holes in it. I've worn it so much. So, you know, I will get to that, man. I really will. Volume with Shannon plays bass. Thank you, Guy. There's another person commenting on the shirts. Thank you. Vlogging with Shannon plays bass here in Florida. So Shannon, let me know what part of Florida you're in. What's your opinion on the Aguilar tone hammer versus the SansAmp programmable bass driver DI? I've never had a whole lot with SansAmp, so we are using an Aguilar tone hammer at my church. And when it comes to Aguilar versus SansAmp, the tone hammer versus the SansAmp, I've seen the tone hammer used in professional situations more often than I have seen the SansAmp. In fact, I found out about the tone hammer from John, a pro bassist who's been a mentor of mine. The tone hammer, I have a video, on YouTube, a review I did, and it's the best, and it's called, the best preamp / DI for bass guitar, question mark. And in the video, I think I mentioned that I think it's the best. But that's the thing, at the moment in time in which I made that video, I thought it was the best, but honestly, based on my research and study and the clips I've heard, what I now think is the best preamp DI out there is going to have to be the Noble preamp. I know some guys I really respect are using it. It sounds fantastic, and I've heard great things. So that would be the one that I'd say, if you can get any preamp DI, the Noble is super sweet. But the Aguilar is really cool. It has a lot of options. I mean, you've got there's a lot you can do with the mid frequencies, plus your regular, treble and bass. And then it's got the AGS feature, for a little grit. So at my church, we don't particularly use the AGS. And quite honestly, what we've been doing is we've been running the bass guitar just straight into the Aguilar, no amp or anything, just straight into the Aguilar and using that as a preamp DI straight into the system. And it has worked pretty well. But I do feel that using it without an amp can leave something to desire. So at this point, I'm starting to think, there's got to be some kind of, or there doesn't have to be. With bass, there doesn't have to be. Because honestly, for many years, the way I record a bass, I do it differently now, but for many years, I just plugged the bass straight into an interface with no amp simulation and then just put a compressor on it digitally and recorded bass like that. And I got some of the best recorded bass sounds I've ever gotten. But at this point, studying the art of amp simulation, a very popular thing right now. And I think with a preamp like that, I think for the optimal tone, it would be great to have amp simulation into a preamp DI or a preamp into amp simulation. However, if you're not, or if you're going into an amp or whatever, I think the Aguilar is great for that. If you're going direct into the system, I would maybe keep looking, just because a bass plugged in straight into the straight into the preamp, straight into the interface, it's not going to sound like it's in an amp. It's just going to sound like a bass. And honestly, you can get away with that in a live setting, and we do, and a lot of people do. But honestly, if I were currently playing as a bass player and I was playing in church and not using an amp, I would either go through just the Noble preamp if I had one, or I would probably get like a nice amp modeling thing like the Helix Stomp and just use bass amp modeling in it. So anyway, I don't know if that answers the question. I would go with the Aguilar over the Sans amp, but I would go with the Noble or an HX Stomp or a Kemper over the Aguilar. You're in Volusia, man. I used to live in Volusia County. Gotcha. You have the Sans amp. Well, and I'm sure not Doble. It's Noble. Like, I'm a medieval soldier, man. I'm Noble. Yeah, Noble preamp. Check it out online. I've never played one, but I've heard them. A lot of studio bassists, session bassists in LA, like Sean Hurley, will sometimes literally just go through the Noble preamp DI. So it's supposed to be kind of the coolest thing out there. So Volusia County, I lived in Port Orange for about 6 months. That was about 10 years ago. And I lasted all of 6 months. Didn't have a ton of close friends, and I was kind of alone in the world. But I'm in Pinellas County now. So yeah, would love to meet you sometime, man. Maybe we will cross paths at some point here in the state. But yeah, keep fighting the good fight of worship. If anybody else has a question, go on and fire it in. I'm going to get off here in just about 5 minutes. Don't want to waste any more than 2 hours of your lives this evening. But yeah, I love doing this. I think at one point when I was still getting back into making videos, I saw that Philip McKnight was doing this and some others were, and I thought, if I would do that right now, nobody would watch. But now, when I do this and I announce that I'm going to be on here, I have people watch. So pretty cool. Shannon, so you live in Port Orange, man. My favorite restaurants will be, there was a burger place called Daily Grind or something. They had great burgers. Don't know if that's still there. Haven't been since my honeymoon. Norm and I drove through there. My favorite hangouts are Deck Down Under was a favorite hangout of mine. I'm actually kind of wondering what church you play at, honestly. Also, I loved to go to Ponce Inlet. There was a restaurant there that I really liked called Down the Hatch. And then I loved a place called Ocean Deck in Daytona Beach Shores. I really liked to listen to reggae music there and hang out on the beach. So yeah, I did have some things I really enjoyed. I liked Port Orange. In fact, there was a music store not too far away in Daytona. I don't remember the name anymore, but yeah. Thrive. I haven't heard of Thrive. I've heard of like Tomoka and some of the others, but I haven't heard of that. But very cool, guys. Just want to say, to all you guys who Guitar Attic. It wasn't Guitar Attic. It was something else. It was like, I want to say it like wasn't far from like the Volusia Mall. God, it's been such a long time. It's been a long time, bro. It's been 10 years. So, but yeah, very cool. So it's been a blast, guys. I love doing this and just getting to chat with musicians and stuff. So this is a lot of fun. Rumblin Man isn't going anywhere. Rumblin Man channel isn't going anywhere. God willing, I have every intention to continue making videos. The best quality video that I've ever come out with was my most recent review, which was of this tre-verb pedal. You can check that out. It was my buddy Sean with Creative Digital Media that made that happen with the camera work. And I will probably do some more videos with him soon, but a lot of the reviews will still be kind of the camera I've been using. The quality that you're used to, which is pretty, it looks fine. It's just, it's not as fancy as I'd like it to be. You know what I mean? I'd like to get a Canon M50 or something like that down the line. I just don't have the budget right now. Upcoming reviews, I'm going to review this SX guitar. Undercover right here is a Fishman Loudbox Performer. I reviewed the Loudbox Mini. You can see that. I'm going to review the Performer. I've got a Takamine guitar, thermal top I'm going to review. Awesome artifacts. I'm going to review Black Beauty strings. I've got a Tonewood acoustic amp to read. So, man, I've got a lot of stuff coming up. More microphones, obviously the one I was using tonight, and then probably another one coming from another company. So there is plenty of cool stuff coming up here on the Rumblin Man channel for guitar players, bass players, and it's just good content for musicians. A lot of stuff is friendly to worship musicians, but it's not only for worship musicians, it's for musicians of all types and all walks. I think you can all get something out of my reviews. So yeah, God bless all you guys, and thank you, Guy. Thanks for the subscription and everything. God bless all you guys, and thank you so much for hanging with me tonight. Feel free to keep in touch. If anyone would like to join Rumblin Man's Worship Guitar and Bass Friends, you can join that group on Facebook. Even if you're not playing worship, in church right now or anything, and you just want to hang and talk gear, you're more than welcome. And then you can add me on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. In the description of this video, I already have links to some of the products and videos I mentioned. And then later, when I have the chance to go through it, I will add more links to more stuff that just kind of came up in conversation. But anyway, guys, I really enjoyed it. And we'll do this again. I want to do this at least every couple weeks. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for hanging with me, and keep in touch. I'll see you all soon. Thank you, guys. And